Production, take one.
Trigger warning for this film. There are several assault scenes.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Augusta University Media Production Club podcast. It's me, Grace, again. Hi.
Hi.
This is Sarah. She didn't introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm the president.
And I'm the secretary. Which is weird, because why am I hosting? Why aren't you doing any of the work?
I'm delegating.
I'm going to delegate you out the door.
You can't really do that because you don't have power over me.
You don't have power over me.
I'm the president. You're the secretary. Yes, I do.
In the club, but...
Yes, in the club.
How could you throw me out? Mr. Williams is my friend. Mr. Williams is
He's my friend, too.
So he wouldn't throw either of us out. I just said I was personally going to delegate you at the door.
Okay, I'm going to steer
through violence.
Back on topic. Today we're going to be talking about the 2020 and or 2021 film, Sweet Thing.
It was released in 2020 originally, but it's just been put on streaming platforms this year.
So it didn't have did it have a theatrical release?
Honestly, I couldn't tell. I tried to look up box office information and everything, and what I found was it made $1,450. I don't really know if that's, true or if that's just, a weird random number somebody made up. I can't find out much about it. It, doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
That's so odd.
Yeah. Well, the director, Alexandre Rockwell, he was, an up-and-coming director in the 90s. He did a couple movies back then. He got a lot of clout and stuff at some festivals. And then his last movie before this one was in 2013, so he was kind of off the radar for a minute. He seemed like he was a rising star back in the 90s. Not too much came of it after the first few movies he did. And he's just been quietly still putting out stuff ever since then, but he took I think a 7-year hiatus it's been since the last film was released between 2013 and 2020.
What kind of films did he do before 2013 or in the 90s?
They were always indie films.
Okay.
A lot of very, scrappy, personal
biopics
ish. Not really. Biopic. It's not really a biopic. Technically, biopic implies
Oh, yeah.
Biography.
But kind of. Real stories. Were they all realism?
They're all pretty similar. He's just what movies do well for young up and coming filmmakers in festival circuits. Usually. Is this type of film.
Yeah.
I thought watching this film that he must be young and hungry, this new director, straight out of maybe film school, maybe not.
Yeah.
But no, he's been around a while. Fun fact, 3 of his family members are some of the main characters. The cast consists of Lana Rockwell as Billie, Karen Parsons as Eve, Nico Rockwell as Nico, Jabari Watkins as Malik, ML Josepher as Bo, and Steven Randazzo as Owen. So Lana and Nico Rockwell are his children. Karen Parsons is his wife. So Eve was she was playing Billie and Nico's mother, and she is their actual mother in real life.
Oh, wow.
They're actually siblings.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I was impressed by how much they looked alike. And they look like siblings because they are siblings, but I was just impressed. I thought it was just casting director magic or something.
They just found some random kids that looked exactly alike. Now, they don't look exactly alike, to be fair. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. People really liked Lana's performance. They were giving her major props for it. I think she did a great job. I think she's the standout for sure.
Definitely.
Of all the actors.
I would say that dramatically the acting was not ideal, but I think that's what made it feel so much more real. Was that it did feel like real kids having real conversations. It didn't feel scripted, necessarily.
Realism.
Yes, realism.
Realism.
It seemed kind of to bring you in more than a professional child actor or something.
Well, she has done previous films, quite a few, even when she was much younger.
Okay.
But I think she was actually in his film that he did in 2013. The name is escaping me right now, actually, and I literally looked it up before that.
Well, either way, if you don't know, the film was filmed on 16 millimeter black and white film, and I think that gives it like a really interesting kind of timeless quality. Because, you know, you see this black and white film that looks like it was not recorded anytime. There's no way it was filmed recently. That's what it feels like sometimes when you watch it. But then you see things like, you know, Nico's wearing a Dat Boy t-shirt, you know, with the frog on the unicycle and it says, "What up?" Like,
Yeah.
that was wild.
Here come that boy. Oh shit, what up?
And then the dad talks about, like, stealing from Walmart, which obviously Walmart's been around a while, but it's kind of like a...
It's like a meme. That's
Yeah.
kind of a meme. Do not steal. This podcast is officially taking a do not steal stance from anyone.
Stealing is bad.
But it is a bit of a meme. Young people, like stealing from Walmart or other like big box corporations and
Yeah.
stuff. So it definitely felt like it was a reference, like the meme T-shirt.
Yeah, there definitely seem to be quite a few references to, like, popular culture.
Yeah.
And that's what made it, like, that's what brought it back to 2020, I think, for me. It was kind of, there's not a whole lot of explicit, like, props and things that indicate the setting, the time setting.
Well, I thought it was interesting that you said it was timeless in that, like, the way it was shot, but also I think it was timeless in the way that the kids, like, don't have, like, cell phones they're on and stuff like that. Officially, not the podcast itself, but I'm taking the stance of, if your argument about phones is cell phone bad, but good, like, cell phones are rotting kids' brains, like, it's not that interesting, and, you know, like, that's not the conversation that it's having, and it's so tired and worn out. Like
the reason they get rid of their
dead horse
phones is
kicking.
because, spoiler alert, obviously, you know, they almost kill a guy, and they're on the run. That's why they get rid of those phones. It's not even because they can't afford them. It's like they have to get rid of them, and arguably their lives would have been a whole lot better if they had just held on to them.
Running it back to the beginning,
Yes.
so we can have a little summary. The story revolves around two siblings and their struggle to find solid ground in the homes of their alcoholic father and negligent mother. They run away and find temporary life for themselves. With the kid that they meet, I thought it was really interesting how Malik was introduced in the, like, flash of color within the film. It was very, like, Beasts of the Southern Wild. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've not.
It was very reminiscent of that, just the way it was shot, the cinematography in that particular scene, the coloring and everything like that. I thought it was really nice. It reminded me of when I took I'm taking screenwriting classes, but there's, like, this, like, divisive, like, break into like, when you're breaking into the next act. It felt like that indicator for me. I was like, okay, like, things are picking up, like, the pace is picking up, like, things, you know, the plot is getting faster, and it's, you know, it's
plot
going,
is thickening.
It's really going. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's thickening, but it's, like, speeding up. It's really going somewhere now.
Yeah. It was interesting to see, like, those pops of color in between the black and white.
Yeah. I think their choices obviously were very intentional because they have to be in a film like this where it's primarily shot in black and white. I don't know. I think that it could have easily just been, like, you know, he could have been introduced with no color, but I thought it was a nice choice. It was a nice choice they made there.
It did seem like a lot of the colored, like, the scenes with color were centered around the water.
Well, New Bedford's near the coast. They filmed in New Bedford, Massachusetts, which, fun fact, it's like an hour from Boston, a little over an hour, a little under an hour from where my family is from, Braintree. If you live in Braintree, Massachusetts, and you're listening to this, what are you doing? But also, hi.
I just thought it was really cool to see, like, the references to Billie Holiday. I thought those were also really, it gave context to, like, who Billie was as a person.
Yeah.
The character in the film, not Billie Holiday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting that she takes her as such an inspiration. But was she named after her explicitly? I can't remember.
I believe so.
They said she was, like, you were named for Billie Holiday. I know that her dad says to her, like, oh, well, people didn't think that she was, like, that great of a singer. Like, she wasn't the most skilled singer, which, I mean, she was amazing. But he said that, but nobody sang like her. And that was, like, what set her
She was
apart.
unique.
But I don't remember if he said, and that's why I named you after her, something like that.
Well, I think that's kind of implied. Because, I mean, obviously Billie is not necessarily a classically girl's name.
Well, I mean, ever since then,
I mean, it's definitely picked up in popularity.
Billie Eilish.
Of course.
Well, I know, like, children, is like, when you're young, you tend to, like, find celebrities or, like, people to, like, be like, oh my god, they have the same name as me, and you kind of, like, want to adopt, like, you know,
Yeah.
a connection to them.
I also think that the references to Billie Holiday were another thing that kind of made the film timeless.
Yeah.
Because I'm not exactly... When was Billie Holiday at her peak? In the 60s?
That's a good question.
Either way, she's not contemporary for sure. And I think that those little flashbacks, those little pictures... Also, who did they have play Billie Holiday?
I don't know. I just found like the principal cast was credited. I mean, she died in 59. I'm pretty sure she was active in, like, you know,
late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, like, you see this picture of her on the beach in a swimsuit, and it's, you know, it's certainly not a contemporary swimsuit, and it's like it just gives the film like very much an ambiguous time setting.
Yeah, I think that's
which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, they wanted you to suspend like all disbelief possible, I think, and it made it easier to do that within the setting, the world that he created. And I think, again, we talked about this before with a different movie, that Thoroughbreds, we're going to be posting that episode sometime soon. But like that movie, this movie like kind of misled me with the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting different vibes. I don't know. I thought it was going to be more like fun and fresh. It
feel good.
Yeah, more feel good. Like
Yeah.
coming of age, yes, but I don't know if you felt that way, but like the trailer did not imply the heaviness that was in the movie. I didn't expect it to be like so tender. The atmosphere was definitely different from what I expected.
It did we said like something about suspending the disbelief. What were you saying?
I was saying this suspending the disbelief of like the events of the film, like
trigger warning for this film. There are several assault scenes. The film is very heavy, and the trailer, I think that's like what they were going for, is trying to like almost lure people in to the film, to like kind of give them this sense of like safety, almost like you're going into it as a child, and then you go into the movie and you watch it and you see all these scenes of like, you know, sexual assault and things like that, and you know, the implications. Most children don't. Well, unfortunately, far too many children experience those things.
Yeah.
But, like, me personally, I've never experienced anything like that. And, you know, seeing things like that, it brings awareness for those who have not experienced that.
But I think it's a very slippery slope. I didn't like that. I feel like the trailer misled me a little bit.
That's true, yeah.
And I feel like with 13 Reasons Why, they had to include a trigger warning at the beginning of the episodes because it was negatively affecting people. I wish there was some kind of implication that things were not heading that way, not necessarily spoiling it or whatever.
But some, like, foreshadowing.
Something like that, because it, like, out of the blue, when you're expecting a different type of film, like, it can be definitely triggering for people who have, you know, like, experienced something like that. For me, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think seeing the movie's progression towards there, you know, you're like, oh, I know, like, that it's not what I thought it was at first if I just watched the trailer. If you don't watch the trailer, then, you know, you probably... If you're watching this movie and you didn't watch the trailer, I don't know how you found it. I don't know how you found it, other than if you're watching it here at the Cinema Series. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting how heavy it was going to get. But I like their little, the little adventure they have.
Yeah,
you could call it that. It was very Stand By Me, except they almost, like, killed the dude, but they don't.
Yeah.
They don't find the body, they almost make the body, pretty much.
Yeah. The scene where they're in the house, I think there is some foreshadowing, at least for the end of the movie. Like, when they're in that house and
They still gotta watch it. We don't want them to be like, well, we heard everything we need to hear.
Well, I thought that was the point of this. We, like, spoiled the thing and stuff.
Because those have been out for 40 years.
That's true. Okay.
50 years, almost.
Well, either way, there is some foreshadowing in the scene with the house. That's all I'll say. There's also a really interesting scene with Billie and a deer
Yeah.
that I thought was, I don't know, just interesting. I haven't unpacked it yet, really. Like, I haven't kind of...
Let's unpack it.
Okay, then let's unpack it. What do you think that scene meant? Like, what was she looking at? What was that deer representing?
I don't know. You're the one who said you unpacked. You needed to unpack it.
I didn't say I needed to unpack. I just said I hadn't yet. But it's something like, I think she's... Okay, so they're in this house after they're running with this man they almost kill. And it's like late at night. There's like a deer in the house because they've like left the door open or something. And she goes into the living room, sees it, and it looks at her. And she's just like, whoa. You know, she's just like, whoa, that's wild. There's a deer in the house. And so she like closes her eyes and then opens them again. And then the deer is gone. And then, what's his name? Malik? Mm-hmm. Malik comes up to her and is, he says, what's up, you know? And so she goes to like look at the deer outside and, you know, they have like a little moment again. I don't know. I think it's kind of her facing adulthood.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's only supposed to be 15. But she's definitely been a victim of like a specific type of abuse, like several types, but specifically parentification. Mm-hmm. You know, when a child is made by their parents to become a parent to the other children.
Whether it was intentional or not, which I don't think it was intentional because their father was drunk.
Yeah. Sometimes it is intentional, sometimes it's not. I would say, well, maybe it wasn't entirely intentional. It's like, what did you expect to happen?
Yeah.
When the mom leaves and the dad knows he can't take care of them.
And that's why he drinks. And then by proxy, Billie becomes Nico's dad. And also her father's dad and mom and all that
like
tied together.
She's taking care of everyone. She's taking care of everyone, including herself, and it's a lot. She's supposed to be 15. The actress was a little older. I think she's a few years older than that. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Mm. And they, like, her and Nico have to, you know, scrounge for money. You know, they sell cans and stuff. I'm not sure what they were doing with that toilet. I don't really know what that was about.
Bro.
I mean, I guess.
They're like little, you know, junkyard, scrapyard, like adventure times. Adventure time, you know.
Yeah.
No, not like that. But it was giving me Florida Project. Have you seen the Florida Project?
No.
It was giving me like the same vibe as in the Florida Project. Like these kids are just getting up to mischief. They're a lot younger. I think Mooney, the main character in the Florida Project, is like 6. But they commit arson. They burn like an apartment building down because they're just fucking around in doing, you know, little fuck shit as kindergarten age kids.
What?
Yeah, in the Florida Project. Great movie. Oh, we should do an episode on the Florida Project. I fucking love that movie.
All right.
Anyway, so yeah, it was giving me Florida Project a little bit. I think the heavy stylization of the film was definitely giving me Florida Project. Of course, like every coming of age film that deals with like really heavy themes. And also like weirdly themes of sexual assault too, that's like heavily stylized, aren't, you know, they're not copying or ripping off the Florida Project. It's been done before, it'll be done again. But that's like a really good example. I think that a lot of people saw, because I mean, it was nominated for several Oscars. Mooney, the actress who played her, name's like Brooklyn Prince or something. She was around Mooney's actual age, like 6. Don't quote me on that. But she was around that age, and she was nominated for an Oscar. She's like one of the youngest people ever to be nominated. It was crazy. But it was definitely giving me similar vibes, similar energy, because like I thought the child actors were great. I thought they were really good. Mm-hmm. And the heavily stylization, like in the Florida Project, it takes place near Disneyland, and it kind of, all the colors are so like beautiful, like they're pastel, the color grading is amazing. And it's kind of creates this little, you know, like Magic Kingdom type thing that they were going for. And I think that like the manipulation of color, or even lack thereof, kind of made you see it from the kid's perspective. Like I thought it was a great kind of metaphor of like how children see things a lot of the time in black and white. It's good or bad. It's yes or no. It's very like direct and straightforward. And then as Malik comes into their life, it's like a burst of color because they're kind of like getting older. They're going through their like rough and tumble rebellious phase a little bit with him.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like really, really interesting choices.
Yeah, like he shows them how to hotwire a car and
Yeah.
and to how to drive, and then they use that later in the film
Yeah.
for him. And it does seem like, while Malik is not much older than them, he does bring a bit of maturity with him.
Yeah. As mature as you can be by hotwiring a car.
I mean, yeah, and smoking weed. I mean, it's just mature in the sense it's like that's the direction that they're growing up in.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I just think it's very honest storytelling. I love films like this. They're very, they just don't, I don't want to say mince words, but they aren't sugarcoating anything.
Right.
I think that, of course, it would be very much amiss if we didn't talk about the stuff about hair.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really interesting how, of course, like, Adam cuts off Billie's hair and is like, whatever.
Yeah.
I
was very scared for that scene. I was like,
it was really
he's gonna...
alarming. It was, but, and Billie's mom wears a wig.
Mm-hmm.
And then her brother cuts his hair like in solidarity.
Right.
But the person in all of the movie who like wears their natural hair and is like not like the most honest version, but but he's real is Malik. Like he's the one. Natural hair. He's got the the fro kind of going on.
That was something that I noticed with the mom was like, once she gets out of this, toxic relationship and she comes out happier and healthier, she's wearing her natural hair. She's not wearing a wig anymore. Yeah. It does seem like she's stopped covering herself up.
Yeah.
In a sense.
I think it speaks a lot about like identity.
Mm-hmm.
And how Adam was kind of trying to like strip Billie of that a little bit by cutting her hair off.
Yeah.
But I thought it was so sweet the moment where Nico does the same.
Mm-hmm.
But also so heart-wrenching because it's like when you see those like videos. I saw this video. It was like high school hydraulics team builds a motorized wheelchair for a disabled kid because he can't afford one. And it's like, that's really sweet, but like they shouldn't have to do that.
Right, it shouldn't have to happen.
It shouldn't have to happen. There should be funding for children who can't walk to have wheelchairs. A child shouldn't have their head like forcefully like remove their hair off of it and everything. So the brother shouldn't have had to do that, but it was, it was sweet of him to do that in their situation.
Yeah, definitely. I think watching Nico grow up during the film was definitely an interesting thing to see. I suppose on paper you could say that he doesn't really change a whole lot. He's still protective of Billie and helpful, but it does seem like he does kind of gain this vision of the world, like this perspective.
Yeah. I think he gains like a sense of self that's not just like, I'm Billie's brother, Billie's my sister.
I'm Billie's protector, that kind of thing.
Like his identity is very based in like who he is relative to somebody else in the beginning of the film. But I think by the end, it's changed to be more based on himself, like who he is relative to the world and himself.
Right, yeah.
I guess that's it for today. Special thanks to Sarah for coming on again.
Thank you, Grace.
Nate, George, Brianna, and Darius, Mr. Williams as always, and the cinema series for putting this on next Thursday, I think is the 18th.
The 18th.
November 18th.
There's a showing at 1 p.m.
1 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Yes.
It's free for everyone, students and the community. It's sponsored by The Hive and the Bee's Knees. I think it is. So, of course, always special thanks to them for, funding us. But also, in the fine print, they don't give us credit. But student fees also pay for the cinema series showings. So,
all right.
Thanks, every AU student, for putting in your student fees. You're putting in the work, too. Let's go. But, as always, thanks to Augusta University for making all this possible. Go Jags.